Remember when your teacher stood in front of the class, drew a brain on the board, and confidently said, "Did you know we only use 10% of our brains?" Yeah, that's a total lie. In fact, a lot of what we learned in school isn't entirely true. Some are harmless oversimplifications, others, flat out wrong. So, why does this happen? Is school trying to mislead us? Or is there a reason these half-truths get repeated so much that they turn into facts? Today, we're diving into 7 of the biggest lies you were probably taught in school. Get ready to rethink your childhood lessons, laugh at what you believed, and walk away smarter than ever. Because sometimes, the most dangerous lies are the ones told with good intentions. If we really only use 10% of our brains, what's the rest doing? Playing Sudoku? Waiting for a software update? The truth? This is completely false. Every part of the brain has a known function, and even when you're asleep or zoning out, your brain is still hard at work. This myth likely started in the early 1900s, when scientists said we only understood 10% of the brain. Over time, that got twisted into "we only use 10%, and Hollywood ran wild with it. Movies like Lucy and Limitless turned it into a superpower fantasy. But in reality, if you were only using 10% of your brain, you wouldn't be able to watch this video or do much of anything. You're using 100% of your brain, just not all at once. You've probably heard this one. The Great Wall is the only man-made object visible from space. Sounds impressive, but it's just not true. The wall is long, sure, but it's also narrow, about 20 to 30 feet wide, and made from materials that blend into the surrounding landscape. From low Earth orbit, it's basically invisible to the naked eye. Astronauts have confirmed this. In fact, you're more likely to see city lights, highways, and airports than the wall. So where did this myth come from? Probably from early textbooks, or just plain exaggeration. Either way, it's been repeated so often that it feels true, even though it's not. So next time someone says it, you can smile and say, "Cool story," but it's just not visible from up there. Look at your wrist. See those blue veins? That must mean your blood is blue until it hits the air, right? Wrong. Blood is always red. Bright red when it's full of oxygen, darker red when it's not, but never blue. The reason veins look blue is because of how light travels through your skin. It's an optical illusion, not an actual color change. So where did this idea come from? School diagrams. Textbooks often used red for arteries and blue for veins to make things easier to understand. Unfortunately, some of us took that a bit too literally. So no, you're not secretly filled with blue Kool-Aid. Your blood is red, always has been. Look at your wrist. See those blue veins? Ask anyone who invented the light bulb, and most will say Thomas Edison. But the full story: Edison didn't invent it, he improved it, massively. Inventors like Humphrey Davy, Joseph Swan, and Warren de la Rue were already experimenting with electric light decades before Edison. In fact, Joseph Swan even sued him and won. They ended up forming a company together. Edison's genius wasn't coming up with the idea. It was making it practical, turning the light bulb into a product people could actually use at home. So, yeah, he didn't invent the light bulb, but he did light up the world with it. We all heard this growing up. Don't touch anything electric with wet hands. And yes, good advice. But here's the twist. Pure water doesn't conduct electricity well at all. What actually carries the charge? The minerals and ions dissolved in water, like salt, calcium, and magnesium. That's why distilled water, which is pure, is a terrible conductor. But tap water, pool water, or ocean water, very conductive, very dangerous. So technically, water isn't the problem. It's what's floating inside it. Still, maybe don't test this in your kitchen. When you picture a Viking, what do you see? Big beard, fur coat, and of course, a helmet with giant horns. Except, historically, that never happened. There's zero archaeological evidence that Viking warriors wore horned helmets. Horns are heavy, impractical, and honestly just dumb in battle. They'd get caught on everything. So where did this idea come from? Opera. In the 1800s, costume designers gave Vikings horned helmets for dramatic effect. And pop culture never looked back. So, yeah, the look is iconic. But real Vikings were more into function than flair. We were taught that Columbus set sail to prove the Earth wasn't flat. But here's the thing. Everyone already knew it was round. As early as the 3rd century BCE, Greek scholars like Eratosthenes had calculated the Earth's circumference using shadows and math. And they were pretty accurate, too. The real debate in Columbus's time was about distance, not shape. Most scholars agreed the Earth was round. They just thought the trip west to Asia would take too long. And honestly, they were right. Columbus got lucky. He ran into the Americas. If not, his crew might have never made it back. So no, Columbus didn't prove the Earth was round. He just stumbled into the New World. And a great PR campaign. So, was school lying to us? Not exactly. Most of these myths started as oversimplified explanations meant to help kids understand big ideas. The problem is, some of us never got the full story. And over time, simplified facts turned into myths, ones we repeated without ever questioning. But here's the good news. The real story is always way more interesting. Learning the truth doesn't ruin anything. It deepens your curiosity. Because knowing the truth about Edison, Columbus, blood, and brains, that's how you level up. So now it's your turn. What's the biggest lie you learned in school? Drop it in the comments. If this video surprised you, leave a like, hit subscribe, and send it to that one friend who still thinks the Great Wall is visible from space. Because curiosity is the best kind of rebellion.